is very true that taxes have become the greatest risk of business today. I can repeat that. Actually, tax has become the greatest risk of business today. That's why we want to reduce that. So we're going to look at the employment tax. We are going to look at the business income tax. We're going to look at VAT and withholding tax. We're going to look at other taxes and compliance. Let me go straight to employment tax. There's a reason I like starting with the employment tax, because we are employers and sometimes we also employees of our own business. So this employment income tax paid by an employee in respect of services rendered to an employer, okay, in Kenya or outside Kenya. An amount paid to a non-resident person in respect of employment or services rendered to an employee who is resident in Kenya or a permanent establishment in Kenya of an employer who is not resident. I was explaining about employment income because it's very, very important we understand, regardless of whatever title you might give it, any person who is giving you services as an employee is taxable. And it is you who is responsible to remit. And if you pay them, whatever you pay them is deemed to be net of tax. So you cannot recover it from them. Very, very important to know that. We use the pay-as-you-earn system of collecting this tax, okay? If income is exceeding 24,000 per month, then it becomes subjected to tax. One of the new changes or emphasis is payment of travel allowance. The key issue is, suppose the person is using their personal car, in which case you pay them mileage. Okay, now it is clarified that mileage is allowable for taxation. However, please note there that the mileage has to be based on the standard rates that are approved by the Automobile Association, AA of Kenya. Benefits that we give are given in exchange of employment, then they are taxable. Any benefits of whatever nature. It's good to note that there are valuations for this, and you can access them even from KRA, how to value the premises, how to value the motor vehicles. But there are non-taxable benefits, okay? The correct one is here now, 4,000, yes, okay? The value benefit of whatever nature, where the aggregate amount does not exceed 4,000. Whatever you give airtime, 2,000 shillings, you give food, 1,000 shillings, okay? So long as the aggregate, not individual specific, aggregate, you add all of them together. If they exceed 4,000, it's taxable. If they don't, it's not taxable. By 9th of the next month, you should be able to have remitted. These dates become very important because they are penalties, okay? They are penalties. This is the individual rate now. The income 0 to 24,000 is taxed at 10%. The next 8,333, 25%. The next 467,667, 30%. Amount above 500,000 up to 800,000, that is the next 300,000, is taxed at 32.5%. And amounts over 800,000 is taxed at 35%. It's good to note that after tax, you get some reliefs, okay? We have mentioned the relief there, 2,400 per month. There is insurance relief. If you have a life insurance, including education cover, you'll get a relief for 15% of the premium up to a maximum of 60%. Allowances, you can get mortgage interest allowance on an owner-occupied house, not a rental house, not a house you are renting out. It's a house you are living in. If it is on mortgage, we of course are registered, mortgage banks are registered. Okay, you get a maximum of 300,000 per annum. You can divide that by 12. Then the controversial one. Okay, and don't shoot me for just telling you, right? So the housing levy, where each employee and employer shall pay the affordable housing levy at 1.5% of the employee's gross monthly salary. The next tax is turnover tax. Turnover tax, okay? This is a tax charged on gross sales of a business. The rate is 3%. Please note again a change. It has been 1% before. Exemption. So you will notice the incomes outside that range will not be taxed. Mandatory is good to note. You can opt out and instead register for normal income tax. So income tax return. So I think I've mentioned there about compliance with e-teams. okay, for both VAT and non-VAT. Advance tax. Those of you with commercial vehicles and PSVs, remember this? Tax paid by owners of PSV and commercial vehicles. The rate, kindly note, this is new, 2,500 per ton of load capacity per year, or 5,000 shillings, whichever is higher. Exemptions, not payable on tractors, trailers used in agriculture, not payable on public institutions, vehicles. It's mandatory for you to get through inspection, TLB license and all that. You must have the advance tax, okay? It is not final tax. So withholding tax, it's good to remember withholding tax is not really a tax, but a method of paying tax, okay? A few changes have happened. You're going to see it's accounted for upon payment. So notice you'll find it in dividends, interest, royalties, management of professional fees, consultancy commissions, gains from financial derivatives, all those. So changes in this: sales promotion, marketing, advertising services for residents at 5% withholding tax. It was not there before. Digital content monetization, okay, to residents, 5%, and to non-residents, 20%. Rental income received on behalf of the owner of a premise, provided that only a person appointed by the commissioner in writing shall deduct tax with regard to rental income. Withholding tax should be remitted to the commissioner within 5 working days. Value-added tax, chargeable on taxable supplies. So I think you know there are different rates for taxation. Now we have zero rated, 16% is the general rate, and there are those that are exempt, okay? Then the monthly rental income, the residential rental tax. So this is applicable where rent received is up to 10 million per annum. So the rate now is 7.5%. Please notice the change. Exemption, please notice, not commercial building and non-residential building with over 10 million. It is a final tax if that is the only income you have. Wow, sometimes they say this. A fine is a tax for doing wrong, but a tax is a fine for doing well, because the more profits you have, the more tax that you get to pay. So this is the capital allowances. If it's a hotel building, 50% first year, and after that you pay 25% in equal installments. My good friends, it's good to note there are penalties in case, all right, we fail. I have tried to put them here. You'll be able to go through them, okay? And doing things right, of course, means compliance. You can plan for your tax to reduce obligation by having the right kind of operations in terms of capital allowances that I have mentioned before. Compliance spectrum, my good friends, make sure you have registered the correct one. Make sure you file on time. Make sure you declare correct self-assessment, this is the system we use, and payment on time. Some of you enablers for compliance. It's good to embrace technology, I've mentioned that. You also automate compliance. It is good to build capacity. Make sure you put proper controls in your organizations. One more thing, it is good to always engage in stakeholder engagements. Above all, my good friends, make sure you have a tax agent, because the beauty of tax agent is that they can run the errors that involve taxation while you concentrate on your core business. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first part of our today's session. And now we can go to Q&A. I have a special guest. This is Monica Kidufa from KRA. And I'm going to invite her to be answering the questions that we have.
Thank you so much. That was a very comprehensive overview of the tax system in a very short time.
Thank you very much, Monica. Before I go to the Q&A that members have raised, and I'm going to open in a short while, I know one of the common questions that many taxpayers ask is, under what circumstance can KRA raid on my business?
All right. So a raid is a form of enforcement. There are those taxpayers who are non-compliant. So that's when now we must speak a language that that taxpayer understands.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Monica. So we're going now to go to the Q&A. The first question. Hi, Invoice clients who pay even after 90 days. VAT is normally due by 20th of the next month. What's the best way to go about this? Sometimes it's a large amount which I may not have.
All right. So for VAT, we are guided by the VAT Act. So in your case, I'm assuming the earlier of that is when you have issued the invoice. However, VAT works on an input-output method. So if you have some sales, you also have the inputs you've incurred to generate that sale. But in case you're not able to raise the whole amount, you can ask for a payment plan.
All right, thank you very much. Next is, what about some government payments like ferry charges done through e-citizen and no receipts? How do we claim this?
This is a new introduction, so we are yet also to figure out how that is going to work. But when it comes to claiming your expenditure, if you can provide evidence that you paid this expense, it will be okay.
Thank you very much, Monica. Rehema is asking, what if the rental are below 20? How do you go about it?
For rental, it's either, we must understand, is it residential or commercial? I'm assuming the 20 units or below are residential units, and that means that you qualify for the MRI, the one Professor Ngombe talked about, where the rate of tax has been reduced to 7.5% of the gross rent. So gross rent means you will not deduct any expenses, and you pay this tax on a monthly basis.
Very good. Rehema, you have had that. Thank you. Mohammed wants to know, what are some strategies business employ to minimize their tax burden legally?
So one of the things is to keep very proper books. And also sometimes you need to operate with businesses that operate over the table. And also, as we said, you can get yourself a tax agent, a reputable tax agent who will help you navigate this tax system.
Okay, and I think Mohammed was asking for everybody else, you have heard the strategies. Very important. The idea of having a tax agent, as mentioned earlier, you can see it is coming in. Don't do everything, Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Prof. and Monica, and I see they are still coming in. Would I request that if Monica would be gracious enough and yourself to go through the questions, answer, and then we return them as answers when sending the presentation, if that's possible.
Absolutely.
That's okay, Monica, Prof?
Yeah, that's okay.
Very okay, Nyambura.
Okay, thank you. So I'd ask Monica to give her final remarks, and then Prof, as we come to a close of this webinar and the questions continue.
So thank you so much. The questions spark a lot of interest, and it gives us a lot of feedback as KRA in terms of how do you experience KRA. So I will, as we have agreed, we will look at the questions and we'll be able to answer where we can and support you where we can. But my message is make that choice to be tax compliant, and you will see a difference in terms of your experience as a business person interacting with KRA.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Monica. Thank you for availing yourself today and for answering the questions that have come, and for promising to give responses for the others that are remaining, and for the support message that you have given. My dear entrepreneurs, we have said this before again and again, be on the right side of business. It's not the message that is coming now. I said at the beginning that perhaps the biggest risk of business today is taxation. In the past, there's been many other things. There's taxation. And for that, you want to be on the right side. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much that you have taken time to raise all these issues for yourself and even for others. Take time also to respond to them, and more important, to put into place, into action, the things that we have shared today. Thank you so much. All the best. Remember to file your return.